In the vast, sun-scorched landscapes of Australia's outback, a fierce and often misunderstood predator roams. The dingo. These wild canines, with their piercing eyes and haunting howls, have long been cast as villains in the Australian narrative, blamed for livestock losses and seen as a threat to rural livelihoods. But beneath this reputation lies a more complex story, one that reveals the dingo's critical role as a guardian of the ecosystem. Recent research and ecological studies suggest that dingoes are not just survivors of the harsh outback. They are essential players in maintaining the delicate balance of Australia's unique and fragile environment. The dingo's story in Australia is as old as time itself, stretching back thousands of years to when they first arrived on the continent, likely brought by seafaring humans. Over millennia, they adapted to the unforgiving terrain, becoming apex predators in a land where survival is a daily battle. As top predators, dingoes play a critical role in regulating the populations of herbivores and smaller predators, ensuring that no single species dominates the ecosystem. This balance is vital in the outback, where resources are scarce and the margins for survival are razor-thin. But the arrival of European settlers in the 18th century marked the beginning of a bitter conflict, one that would pit humans against dingoes and set off a chain of ecological consequences that still reverberate today. Farmers, seeking to protect their livestock, waged war on the dingoes, erecting thousands of miles of fences, most notably the dingo fence, one of the longest structures in the world, to keep them at bay. Poisoning, shooting, and trapping became common practices, drastically reducing dingo populations in many areas. But as dingo numbers declined, an unexpected consequence emerged. The ecosystems they once regulated began to unravel. Without dingoes to keep them in check, populations of invasive species like feral cats and red foxes exploded. These introduced predators wreaked havoc on native wildlife, particularly small mammals and ground-nesting birds, many of which were already struggling due to habitat loss and climate change. At the same time, herbivores like kangaroos and wallabies, no longer pressured by dingo predation, experienced population booms. With no natural check on their numbers, these grazing animals overran the landscape, consuming vegetation at an unsustainable rate. The overgrazing led to widespread soil erosion, as the protective layer of vegetation was worn away, leaving the land vulnerable to the harsh outback winds and rains. This loss of vegetation triggered a cascade of ecological consequences, reducing habitat for insects, birds, and other wildlife, and further destabilizing the ecosystem. The absence of dingoes created a domino effect that extended far beyond the immediate loss of biodiversity. Farmers, who had once seen dingoes as a threat to their livestock, began to feel the consequences of their removal. The overgrazed landscapes could no longer support the same levels of livestock, reducing the productivity of the land. Soil erosion made the land less fertile, and the loss of native plants and animals disrupted the natural processes that sustained the ecosystem. Even water systems were affected, as the loss of vegetation along riverbanks led to increased sedimentation and altered water flows. The very ecosystems that farmers relied on for their livelihoods were unraveling, a stark reminder of the interconnectedness of all life in the outback. In recent years, scientists and conservationists have begun to recognize the dingo's role as a keystone species, a creature whose presence is essential for the health of the ecosystem. Studies have shown that in areas where dingoes are allowed to thrive, biodiversity flourishes, native species rebound, invasive predators are kept in check, and vegetation recovers from overgrazing. Dingoes, it turns out, are not just survivors of the outback. They are its stewards, maintaining the intricate web of life that defines this harsh yet beautiful landscape. Efforts to restore dingo populations and integrate them into modern land management practices are gaining momentum. Some farmers are experimenting with non-lethal methods of protecting livestock, such as guardian animals like Maremma dogs, or innovative fencing designs that deter dingoes without harming them. Conservation programs are working to educate the public about the ecological benefits of dingoes, challenging the perception of them as mere pests. Meanwhile, researchers continue to study the complex interactions between dingoes, other predators, and the broader ecosystem, providing valuable insights into how we can coexist with these apex predators. The story of the dingo is a powerful reminder of the interconnectedness of life and the unintended consequences of disrupting natural balances. It challenges us to rethink our relationship with the wild, to see predators not as enemies, but as allies in the fight to preserve biodiversity. If this tale of resilience, balance, and the intricate dance of life in the wild has captivated you, stay tuned for more stories from the natural world. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay updated with more thrilling wildlife stories.